We'll start this off as a sort of unboxing. So I ordered a new scope from Knobridge. Box came a little damaged. Don't know how that happened. But overall, came in 2 days. Pretty standard time for here in West Virginia for orders since they come from the PA location. But looks like we got the scope, some minor damage here, but looks like the bubble wrap kept it safe. We'll see how it looks on the inside here. Some batteries. Typical package. It's gonna have like the patches, stickers, scope, kill flash, and a bubble level. So in a recent comment, I was asked to demonstrate how I do my spray paint job. So I thought, well, I did one of my, I think it was the second video on my channel was how I did it. But a lot has changed how I've done this spray paint texture and style. So I figured why not, you know, someone took the time to comment on one of my videos and asked about it. And you know what, it's worth showing because some things have changed how I do it. I could do it a lot faster than I used to do it, and I think it looks a lot better overall. So we're gonna kind of go in order of what I use. So for your base coat, I like this Rust-Oleum camo. It's the ultra coverage. It's in pretty much every Walmart. It's the dark green. This is gonna be your base coat. Next, you're gonna want to find this light green, same brand, same style. This works really well for adding what we're gonna call our highlight sections of the camo structure. And then last but not least, for colors, you're gonna want this dark brown. This is what's gonna give you that deeper, darker sections, the shadows, the branches, whatever you want to kind of envision it as, to break up that camo pattern into 3 basic colors. But there's one other thing I like to do, and that's going to be either a semi-gloss or a gloss. It doesn't really matter, but it's this clear coat. And not only is it going to protect your camo from, you know, roughing up against stuff like this when you're out there using your riff on the field, but it does this crazy effect, which hopefully the camera will pick up, where it just absolutely pops all these little tiny details that you're probably not going to see when spray painting it, and it just makes the camo pattern look a million times better. But how are we going to do the pattern? That's really simple. So we're going to use this burlap sack rolls. You can find them in like the fake plants aisle in Walmart. It's super cheap stuff. It comes in different colors. It has like this dark brown, then they have a lot of other like actual colors. But I just like to use this kind of tannish one. It's usually the cheapest, and they have like huge mega rolls of it, and it'll do the job. It'll do exactly what you're looking for. And then last but not least, for things you'll need, a little bit of painter's tape. And honestly, it just depends on what you're painting. Sometimes you won't need it. For example, the kill flash, I won't need this at all. But for the bubble level and the scope, we're going to tape off a few things that we want to stick. Just as we started talking about from the start, we're going to do this dark green base coat. So everything's taped off the way I want it. We have our lenses. I do both sides. Even though we're going to put the kill flash on this side, I just want to be safe and cover it up as much as I can. Covered up some of the writing and some of the numbers that I think are important that I want to show. Obviously, you don't have to tape off this much. You can only tape off the lenses if you want. Do whatever you want. So we're going to start with that green coat. And it's really important. You don't want to put like a lot on. You just want to be nice, light sprays. Just fast and just enough to basically cover it with the color you want. And there's going to be a point where we flip it upside down because you want to get all those different angles. So don't worry too much about trying to get up and under it. We'll get that when we get there. So the good thing about these this brand of spray paint is it dries super fast. Like this part already, I can tell it's pretty much dry. And it's just going to dry faster and faster the way I do this type of style. So this is our base coat. We've got this nice like ranger green look. Next we're going to bring out the light green. So with the light green, our goal is to just add some highlights to the camo pattern we're going to be doing, and we're going to be using now the burlap here. So you're just going to want to lay it on kind of tight to it, and from a distance just kind of hit it at that angle. It's going to add these kind of scale-like look to it. So we're going to just kind of focus on that, and we'll get to the next step after that. And we are going to be doing the entire thing with the light green. You're not going to focus on doing sections. We'll get to how we're going to break it up here in a minute. But just to start, you're going to do the whole thing. And when turning it, if you're trying to avoid touching what you think is wet, even though this is already pretty dry, you can grab it by the lenses like I just did off to the sides and pick it up to avoid touching that wet paint. But already we've got a good bit of the light green the way we want it. And now I'm just going to take some of that dark green and hit some of the spots I've noticed I've missed due to the angling. And then you can just go back to your light green. You're going to be doing that a lot, kind of going back and forth till it feels like what you want it to look like. It helps too to kind of push it down onto whatever you're trying to hit. That way you get a really, really defined look to the pattern. So the top, like what we're looking at right here, is going to be the most important. So we'll do basically the last parts of it at the very end because that's what really matters. But if you're like me, I want everything to kind of coexist together. So we're going to flip everything upside down and do the bottoms now because the bottoms don't really matter, and we're going to finish the bottom. So I'll explain the last steps of the bottoms right here when we flip it and do all that. So you're just going to flip everything upside down, and then you're going to go back with your dark green again. I wish there was more ways to tell, but all the cans kind of look the same. But we're just going to hit it with the dark green. And again, just real light, just barely touching the spray. So once we've done that, we're pretty much done with the dark green for the rest, unless there's a spot you mess up and you just want to redo it because you don't like the way it looks. The dark green is important even though we're adding this light green over it, because it's going to be that color at the very, very bottom that's shining through everything. Now we're going to go back to the light green. We're going to get a new piece of the burlap. It clogs up really fast, so if you notice your pattern is starting to get kind of washed out, it's not defined anymore, just switch over to a new clean one. Like I said, it's super, super cheap at Walmart, so you can buy like a huge roll for like, I think it's like $3. If you don't like spray painting, you definitely don't have to do the bottom of the rails or like the back of a kill flash or something. Again, this is really specific to what I'm painting right now, but anything that's not going to show, you definitely don't have to spray paint. I just like everything to kind of coexist together. You could also paint this stuff on your riff or whatever you're using. You don't have to do it in the way I am. I'm just doing it like this because if I ever take it off or want to move it, I want everything to already be painted and look the way I want it. And you'll see I'm touching it like all the time while it's still pretty much wet. Still trying to be like obviously a little light about how I'm touching it, but this paint on a warm day, heck, even probably a cold day, it dries so fast. Like you can pretty much test it and touch it any way you want, and you're gonna be fine. So now that we've got the light green everywhere on it, this is where we're gonna kind of switch patterns up. So we're gonna take the light green and put it away for just a minute, and now we're gonna move to that dark brown. This part is where the pattern is really gonna come to life. So you'll take everything you just did, and this part you can just do everything, but I like to kind of do like a tiger stripe essentially. So I'm not gonna hit every part of it with the brown. I'm just gonna try to break it up. So like kind of doing like little angled tiger stripes is the best way to really say it. And don't worry about like putting too much, because if you put too much in the final step, I'll show you how we're gonna mitigate that. So any of these, like this is super light green here, we're just gonna break it up and hit it with a little bit of stripe, just to break up that light green. That's all we're trying to do, is break it up. And like I said, right now we're gonna focus on the bottom, so don't worry about flipping it over or anything. So now that we've got the brown in all the places we want, at least on the main scope, here we can go ahead and do these side pieces too. But what you're going to want to start to do is look for any spot you think is too brown and has too much of a dark area, because you don't want to like totally just darken an area. And what you'll do is you'll go back with that light green, and like right here it looks really dark, so we're just going to break it up a little bit. And like you just want to do little tiny bursts, like, and all we're doing right now is we're just adding some highlights to it. So now there's like a little glint, kind of like sunlight hitting a leaf basically. Then we'll flip it over to this side, look for the same things. And you can even do kind of like a sputter, so that's when you're barely pushing down, it kind of like sprays out, it isn't doing like a constant stream, and that'll get a nice little effect. So overall, I'm pretty happy with how this looks. Might do like a few little angles here and there that I think don't. So now that the bottom part is where I want it, we're gonna flip it completely up on its back here. Look, do one last little check. I think it could use a little brown right there. And now we're in a spot where I like it. So this is where the last step comes in. You're gonna take that clear coat that I showed you at the very beginning, and you're just going to cover it. And as you see, hopefully the camera picks this up, it just brings that camo pattern to life. Like it's really gonna pop all of a sudden. The clear coat does take a little longer to dry, so give it a minute. But you can go to, if you're painting a bunch of things, you can go to something else and kind of work on it for a minute. And by the time you come back, it'll be done. So I'm gonna work on that bubble level a little bit. I think I'm gonna switch to a new piece of burlap just because I'm getting a little clogged up in there. And you can kind of also, when doing the pattern, you can kind of aim off to the edges, like away from it, if you're trying to do an edge and really get like a little break in of whatever color you want to come in on that edge. And yeah. Also, for doing like sides like this, I know I'm kind of doing this out in the woods, but if you have like a table, you can bring it off to the edge to get a really straight line on whatever you're going for, to get that pattern on the edges. And then you can kind of just turn it and keep doing that if that's something you're going for or something you're looking to do. So now that we've got the bubble level where I want it on those sides, again, we're just going to kind of set it somewhere we can leave it. So over here is fine, and we're going to hit all those sides with the clear coat. Same with the kill flash, it's looking pretty good, so we'll hit it with some clear coat. Ideally you probably want to do 2 coats of clear coat once it's dry, but look, like the scope's already dry, so what we're going to do is we're going to flip it. And again, the reason we did the bottom first is because when you flip it with the clear coat, it gets kind of sticky for a little bit. so it might stick to whatever you're painting on and rip some of the camo off, which kind of gives it a battle worn look. It's not the worst thing in the world, but that top you probably want to look nice and crisp. Like that's going to be the side that shows the most. So now that we've got it flipped, we're just going to finish up the top to match the rest. So since we already did that light clear coat, we're just going to be doing the brown now to break it up. And you can either just hit the whole thing with brown if that's what you want to do, or you can kind of just do little sections of whatever you're going for. And make sure to kind of think about all the different angles, like these sides of the spinners, you're going to want them painted a little. Just think about anything you've taped off, because you can go kind of heavy there, because you're going to take that tape off and there won't be anything there. And don't be afraid to go dark. If you go dark, you can always just hit it with the light. That's the good thing about this like spray painting, is you can always just go back and undo what you've done. So I kind of like all the dark I've done. I'm going to go ahead and flip this, get a coat of dark on it. And now, hopefully, we'll just switch back to that light green, and this will be the last bit we do all together. So I'm going to look for anything dark. Right there's really, really dark. So I'm just going to kind of do that, break it up a little bit. There's a dark section in there. And all we're doing right now is just adding highlights. And again, kind of follow that tiger stripe pattern where you're just doing little angles and go light. Like right there I went a little too light right there, so I'm just going to switch back to the dark brown and we're just going to hit it again. So I'm pretty happy with the way this side looks. Make sure I like the bottoms here. And sometimes it's good just to do the little sputter, because the sputter's gonna, when you add the clear coat, it's really gonna shine through, kind of add some really cool texture. So we went a little dark down here, so we're gonna kind of fix that. Also here it's just kind of muddied up, so we're gonna add a defined line. I think it just helps, makes it look a little nicer. And right now it's just kind of toying around until you find a happy medium of what you like. It is really hard to get this pattern on smaller things, so don't get super frustrated if you're doing something like the kill flash, for example, something tiny. If it's really not being defined, it's really difficult to kind of get that pattern to show up on things with very little surface area for it to stick to. But yeah, I think I'm good with the whole thing, so we're just going to do a little bit of clear coat. And it doesn't hurt to hit things with the clear coat that have already been hit with it. Like I said, you can do a bunch of coats on this and just kind of watch it come to life here. And you can go pretty heavy on that. So at this point, you can start to kind of clean up your workspace, because you've probably made a bunch of trash and junk with the burlap and maybe some painter's tape here and there. So yeah, just work on that for a minute while things dry. So now we're at the final step, which is just literally taking all the tape off. So anywhere you taped, you're just gonna take it off. So obviously I taped the bubble level here, so we're just gonna pull that off. So there's the bubble level, nice and done. Now time to take all the tape off of this. And if you're doing this really close to when it's wet, if you start to peel it up, you kind of want to, you don't want to pull and like drag, you kind of want to pull back so it's ripping up, because sometimes you'll just rip up some of the paint if you don't do that. And that's really hard to explain over a video, but hopefully you can kind of see what I mean with how I did that. But as you can see, all of our details are there. Something I do like to do, I'll leave this on while we do it real quick, is whenever you peel it up, you might notice some of the paint is going to kind of tear up a little bit. What you want to do is grab that clear coat, and it seems to kind of melt it back on, which I'll do that real quick. So I'm literally just going to hit all the spots we took the paint off. Again, even though this is a clear coat, please, please, please don't put it on your lenses. I don't know what that will do. I can't imagine good things. Probably make them super blurry. But give that a second to dry, and we'll take that last lens off and we'll be done here. And we can go ahead and just thread that kill flash on. I know some people are worried with spray paint, like that it'll destroy your threads. It's fine. It doesn't do that. There you go. So now we have the kill flash on there. And looks like I missed a part of the tape. And now we're gonna add this to our scope here. I like to put it right behind the other set. That way you can kind of level it without having to really level it. Now that's tight on. And we'll get that final bit of tape off your main lens. Just be careful if you're using a knife. You don't want to scratch the lens, so just be gentle. It'll come right off. And there you go. So that is how you do the spray paint. I call it like a snake skin kind of look. Some people call it dragon scale, all sorts of little things. But it'll give you a nice way to kind of customize your camo. I probably should have said this earlier on in the video, but if you want to do other colors, the thing I recommend is kind of a dark to middle color base coat on the whole thing. That would be, in this case, the dark green. Then find a light color. That can be anything from like a tan to a yellow to a white, anything on the brighter scale of the color wheel. Do the whole thing in that. That'd be the light green in this. And then a nice dark breakup color or an accent color. It doesn't have to be dark. For example, our field, we have rentals, and the way we did that is the base coat is actually a dark brown, the accent of the dark here, with light tan all the way across, replacing the light green. And then as the accent, in this case the dark brown, it is a dark blue to break it up. So you can do whatever you want. I recommend 3 colors. You could do a lot more than that or a lot less, but 3 colors seems to be a happy medium, and you get a nice camo pattern out of that. If you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. If you're new here, please subscribe. It really helps the channel. I know I did something like this way back on the channel, but you know what? Someone took the time to comment and said, hey, can you do it again? I have changed how I do it. I'm going to try to not do any cuts to show just how fast this was. Like, without filming, you could probably do this whole scope in like 10-15 minutes max, easy. And that's like with dry time, and you can just keep going at it. I'm not really waiting long to do the next coat or to do the clear coat or touch it. Like, it's already dry. And it's not that hot out here. It's probably mid 80s around. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.